Hello.
Yo, guys. All right.
Let's get it in gear. Just share.
Share away.
There we go.
Share. Hey, you're on. Sweet. It's not popping up on mine. Athena, what's up? What's up?
Hey, Athena. Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day. All right. This isn't popping up on my thing.
Okay.
Robert, what's up?
Does
What's
that
up,
give you a
buddy?
notification that Bloodline's live?
No.
Okay.
So we'll go to the page. Robert, what's up? What's up, buddy? How we doing? Let's see, where are we at here? Share. Oh, there we go. Nice. Channel. We're off and running. All right. What's that?
I shared.
You shared?
I
Good
shared.
job.
We're good.
You shared. We are all set. Beauty.
It's up here.
How we doing, guys? Hello.
Can you guys hear us okay? Give us a like. You can hear
Yeah.
us. It's my little trick.
TJ, what's up? What's up, brother? How we doing, buddy? Hello.
Hi. And if you're here, type hi, say hello. Let
Yeah.
us know you're here, you're watching with
Let us know
us.
you're there.
So we're not
Right
just
after it.
talking into space at each other.
Yeah, because we're definitely.
We're feeling that Valentine's Day.
Yeah, we're not always fans of talking to each other, right? Kind of feeling like that today a little bit.
It's great. It's fantastic.
You don't annoy me at all. Coach Dan, what's up? What's up?
Can you just make that a little lower? Just
Yes.
hearing both the feedback.
Yes, I apologize.
Hearing you twice is all about that I can handle.
Same here. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. Can you feel the love?
Such a Grinch.
I'm such a Grinch. Oh,
I can't
please.
hear you all. Can you guys not hear us?
I can't hear you all.
Can anyone hear us? Sad face.
Can you guys hear us or no?
Laughing. Can you guys hear us? Here, I'm gonna.
Hold on.
I can hear us. Okay, we're good. Maybe she meant because I can hear this, but not that or whatever. I don't know. But I hope you guys can hear us. And let us know. Hopefully, we're all
Play for that feeling. Last night was
and in life.
in sport and in life. Last night was a fun feeling to play for.
Yeah, you want to tell us about it?
I can hear you too, Athena. I can hear you too. Last night was fun. Walking into, so I get an invite to a Brian Prop, the Guffaw. Anybody remember the Guffaw back in the day? Flyers. Every time he used to score, he'd do the Guffaw. It was awesome. So it was pretty fun as a kid, remembering going to Flyers games and seeing him do that. It's funny how I was at his 60th. We were at his 60th last night.
Oh, we were both there. We were there.
And in we walk, and it was definitely one of those moments of you come in and you start looking around. It's like, I don't see any other wives, girlfriends.
The only other females were the waitresses.
there was about 60 guys there. So it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun.
I had a blast.
I thought it was pretty funny walking in and seeing that.
I did ask. I did say, are you sure this is, because there's like a whole crew, they all play men's league. You know, they all have, what do you call that when it's like, is it men's league in the morning or is it more like shimmy?
Yeah, it's like morning hockey.
Morning hockey, right? So, but it's all dudes. Like, are you sure that the significant others are invited to this situation? Oh, yeah, of course, for sure. And then in I walk. I got a photo of it up on my page if you want to check it out. But I mean, that almost was like, felt like high schoolish, of like, because I used to hang with the guys.
Yeah. And
just walking in, and I'm like, surveying the room, and I'm like, all right, here we go.
Yeah. But you know what's awesome though? Like, what's awesome about it, guys, is that, hold on, sorry. Sorry, guys, I got somebody.
He's delegating. I totally know. He's got someone doing flower runs.
So it's like
for him.
literally coming through right now. Vax, nice job, buddy. It's totally coming through right now. And, like the
Is that like
iMessage.
a new business? Like one dude goes.
No,
y'all
because
chip
listen,
in
he's
and pick up the flowers.
you just saw it. What he was saying, he's going over, and I'm just like, all right, well, I was gonna go do that. Play for that feeling. Play for that feeling.
I don't think people understood what just happened.
No. So you know how iMessage, there's the messages come through, guys. So
On
we're
your
going through our
computer.
computer. So right now, one of my buddies right now is like, hey, I'm going over to go get
Flowers.
well,
For Naomi.
and here it is up on the right side of the screen popping
Which
up
color do you want?
in text. I'm thinking in text message, and I'm not even realizing.
Well, and I gotta be honest, I would have thought it was for like a jersey or for anything else, but the fact that you had to take your phone to respond is what gave it away.
Yeah.
Like that, I just figured there was a jersey, like, or it would be in red or white, black, whatever. Like, I thought it was a jersey question, not a flower question. But once you had to look at your phone and you never look at your phone when we're live ever. So then I'm like,
So there's two stories right there. Play for that feeling. Play for that feeling. So what I love about play for that
see,
feeling
as much
is
as you can't stand me, you're getting me flowers. They're for Naomi, they're not even for me.
exactly. They're not for you. Exactly. Play for that feeling. What you know what's awesome about play for that feeling is the experiences.
Is it?
Yes. I think that's the beauty of what is at the core of, we've talked about it so many times through the years, and obviously that's our mantra, theme, all that stuff. That's what we always hammer away at. But all kidding aside, that's exactly the art of last night, walking into that scenario and seeing all these guys, and in walks Marissa with us, and guess what? We're going to remember that story forever. We're going to be 60, 70. You'll definitely outlive me, I'm sure, because that's the way it goes with the amount of stress you cause me.
Cockroaches live a long time.
I'm not going to headbutt you.
That was a good one, though.
That was a good one.
I like when I crack myself up.
Yes, I'm sure you do. So walking into that party, we're going to remember and tell that story, and it's going to change.
How did
By
it
the
feel
time,
for you? Like, are you going to get sharp next week if you go skate?
probably. I hope they cheer me. I hope they do, because it's fun. It's fun.
I'm so
Like it
happy I
was.
actually put clothes on. Didn't go like in my pajamas.
Because that's a memory. Like, that's the point, right? That's what it's about, is that's a memory that you can walk away from and go, how funny was that shit? How funny was that? Of like, we're going to be able to tell that story forever, and it's going to change 20 different ways. And we're going to talk about, remember that time we end up going to Brian Prop's 60th birthday, and we walk in, and this is what happened, blah, blah, blah. And it's cool to remember that.
Yeah.
And it's cool to remember and say, hey, remember that time we were on the Parent Trap and Kiddo was shooting text messages that we saw right on the screen. Troy, what's up? What's
I
up?
should have wore a shirt that said "not the
Jim,
stripper."
Scott. And so, you know what's so funny? She had no idea that was you yesterday.
Yeah, I didn't know.
She was like, the big guy? She goes, the big guy there? I'm like, yes, the big guy.
Big presence.
Big presence. Huge presence.
Yes.
Massive man. And
In
that's
a good way.
in a great
Yeah.
way. Huge.
Tall.
And just as massive as he is physically, his heart is just as massive. That's what I love about him.
Yeah.
Happy Valentine's Day, buddy. It's the truth. He's the man.
Yeah.
And Jim, Beth, what's up? What's up? Troy, Joseph, what up, guys? Jim, you just hit the nail on the head, brother. Look at him. Oh, he's already getting ahead.
Did you plot that?
Nope. Jim, if you look at my notes, buddy, you'd be laughing right now. Of like literally, that's what. So, guys, we talk about, right, the experiences where play for that feeling at the heart of it. Where it was born was the feeling, obviously, but it's the experiences that go along with it. And Jim there got ahead of it on that end of a big part, guys, when we talk about now the big theme, right, of what we're always hammering away is I am what I do. Hashtag what I do, IDO. And what the IDO stands for, identify, direct, and own, that's in essence the roadmap. Now, we've been for years perfecting, looking at it and go, how do we put something in a simple way to look at it? To say, all right, if play for that feeling is the idea, well, the only way that I can play for that feeling is based off of what I do. And we've done this with our teams, with our players. We're making sure we've been doing it with our players for a long time, but we've put this together in a simple way for them to understand is identify what your game is, direct what your game is, and then own it. Own what you do, right, along the way. And so at the core of it, the essence is what Jim just brought up there, is that the essence of, we talk about playing for that feeling, as a parent, as a coach, as a player, at the core of it is the three parts that if you want to break down what's at the core of play for that feeling, it all comes back to what do you know? What have you identified about yourself physically? What have you identified about yourself mentally? What have you identified about yourself emotionally?
And the sausage.
That's awesome. And that's at the core of it. And guys, emotionally, if you want to talk about emotional, other words you can add to it, spirit. What do you feel spiritually, right? With it, I think that's a big part of that. If you combine the one thing that makes us different as human beings, the one thing that's changing inside the coaching game, inside the world in general, we see what's happening in the world. So much work is becoming automated because of artificial intelligence, because of machine learning, because of all these things that things are just becoming easier to do because, hey, guess what? You look at the difference of what's happening. How often I ask my students this, and parents, go ahead, ask your child this. You know how many times it's a fun study that I keep asking players now, hey, what do you think about school and what you learn in school? And the number one answer I'm getting across from every single player now that they all say is, Coach, I'll be honest, there is nothing I'm learning in school that I can't Google. There's nothing in school I can't Google. And that's the difference that we always talk about, that you bring up so eloquently on that end, right? That you always bring up and say is that what school does is it provides the experience, the environment to learn what those things are. So even though I can Google something, and yeah,
you may not want to Google it. You may not think that to even know to Google it.
Exactly.
Exactly.
So I can get the information easily by Googling it for sure. But it's the experience of the influence of the people that I'm around, how they're portraying the message to learn it, to understand it, the environment that you're being created. So school is like the new playground. And so what I find, what annoys students and what they don't like is you ask them, well, how many teachers do you enjoy learning from? You get maybe one that they're excited. Yeah, I like that teacher. That's it. So fundamentally, play for that feeling at that core is that the teachers aren't creating a emotional experience. The coaches aren't creating a fun emotional attachment to the systems we're trying to teach, the concepts we're trying to teach, the different parts that we're trying to teach. We're not creating an experience. So now you can Google all the information. You can look at, as a performer, you can look online for my hockey people. You can look online and look how to stick handle better, how to shoot better, how to skate better. It all exists. The information's right there. But who's influencing you to consider looking at the information? Who's influencing you to inspire you to want to do what you're learning, right? Who's making you feel that? And that's the part where the physical and mental is easy to find, but the emotional is at the core.
Jim brought up an awesome point. They learn knowledge in school. They need to teach them how to think critically. That's
another label, critical thinking. Absolutely. But with critical thinking, again, we're human beings. We want to enjoy the process. We want to have fun. We want to know, like,
to go 8 hours somewhere every day, and it sucks. Exactly. I mean, I wouldn't want to go to a job I hated every day. Why do I,
Exactly.
I mean, in school, there is so much good. Like, you're there with your friends.
Exactly.
Like, there's a lot that could be used to their advantage rather than it just being sitting in chairs and staring, forward all day long.
Exactly. When we talk about fun, guys, as an example, what do I mean by fun when we say critical thinking, the word critical thinking? One of the things we'll do sometimes with our students is we'll say, go on a treasure hunt. Okay, it's time to go on a treasure hunt. Go find us an article about awareness. Go find us something that you know this is your performance target when you play. Go find somebody in the NHL, somebody at college doing that. Go on a treasure hunt. So now it's getting them to think about, okay, well, this is what I do on the ice. Oh, now I'm going to go on an adventure and go see if I can go find it.
Well, and I almost think this like popped into my head, and I don't want to take this all throughout the school system, but like as far as this conversation for today. But what I think is fascinating is like the big projects get assigned as homework. Like I think of like the shoebox. What do they call that? I forget. And that's how long it's been, right? Or like go make this. But then who ends up having right? And it's cool. You get to bond with your kid. You get to remember that stuff. But like, wouldn't it be better to let them actually work on the project at school, like with each other, rather than like that's something they have to like let them learn to like they don't have mom. Oh, did I tell you this is due tomorrow? No, like make it the project is what you work on at school, rather than that's what you take home to like figure out. So I don't know. That's my 2 cents.
No, it's like the equivalent of in performance. So the analogy in sports.
What the hell is diorama?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
That annoys me when I can't think of a word.
And Trish, we're going to get back to that, but most of the time they don't even like when we teach it precisely. And we'll talk more about that. But it's like the equivalent of if hockey players, right? Or any athlete, you go to practice for 45 minutes to an hour. And this is what the problem is with a lot of coaching even today. You go to the practice and they're going to sit there and teach you, well, here's how you need to stick handle. Here's what you're going to do the drill wise. So it's the equivalent of, let's go up on the board. I'm going to show you different things. I'm going to talk to you about how you can stick handle. And then when you go home, you're going to go stick handle. It's the equivalent of, well, wait a second, but I have all my friends in here because we're all social creatures. I have all my friends in here. Why don't we just stick handle while we're here together? And I can maybe learn and think more about it when I go home of what you just said. Why don't we flip it? And that's the concept of flip classroom now, is that they talk about that.
That's a thing called flip classroom?
Flip classroom, yeah. Yeah, it's a thing in education, right? That's play for that feeling. That's one of the hidden secrets of, personally, for my education, of I'm always looking at classroom education. What's the science behind that? Because as coaches, it's the same exact thing. How are you teaching your class? How are you teaching your team when you do it? The connection is, in essence, the same. And anyone that goes out there as a coach and does it, you'll find the similarities right there. They're almost identical. So, but the idea of flipped classroom, what it does is, it's the whole concept of the teaching methods of sitting up on the board, and instead you create a video and you tell the kids to watch it at home. You watch that video. So this is what I've been saying to coaches for years now.
But now I is in the school.
Write out one time the video of, this is our power play, this is our zone entry. Write it out one time on the board, do a video of it, send that video to your players, and now they have it all the time. You don't have to keep, oh, you don't understand it? Go watch the video again and tell me what you don't understand about it. So in this way, it's one time, it's done, it's over, and you can go back and look at it. But that's the idea of a flipped classroom, where the experience is totally different. Totally different. That if now we focus more on that feeling, social, all that stuff comes together, what a change in the environment, what a change in the experience, what a change in the feeling that creates by doing that. And that's that emotional piece that gets into it. And that's the huge part with that, and that I love with that. Dubian, this sounds right. It would be great if we place more importance on experience and its role in learning. Yep.
Well, if you ask kids what they remember most about school, it probably is projects and stuff where they got them moving in school. Like when you can learn by doing, not, like science was always cool because you're doing experiments, right? Like that was fun. It was like you learn by doing it, like not, just rote memorization of stuff.
Yeah,
so
exactly. The problem with education mirrors youth hockey. Yep. Most education is fueled by comparisons, rankings. Exactly. The way districts receive money at the state and federal level is tied directly to other factors. Yep. Again, right? It's the same concept, right? Of all lobbyist stuff and all that. So it's all intertwined, same concept, right? It's just universal themes go everywhere. But that's reality. But the experience part, that's where we start. Like Jim writes, muscle memory and then reflection. Sure, absolutely, of course. Muscle memory and then reflection. But muscle memory and reflection is based off of what? And Jim, you know this, right? Where we want to learn first based off of the actual experience of the game. This is the part where we mess up so much in education, teaching players, is we talk about the concept in our culture of natural performance. That's what drives our theme of, you hear people talking about mindset now. It's about confidence, it's about consistency, it's about visualizing. All that stuff's great. All that stuff's, yes. But it's the equivalent of what's happening is now people are seeing the concepts of, oh, you got to learn how to stick handle. You got to learn how to shoot. You got to learn how to understand systems. You got to learn how to train in the gym. It's like people are realizing, oh, we've got to go do all that stuff. But the problem then is with the educational piece is this. We're realizing that that's what you need to do. But guess what? There's this thing in education now that happens inside of hockey, as an example, where we talk about small area games. Small area games is trumping everything else of education that's out there because small area games is a game. You're learning more from the game. So when, Jim, we talk about, right, of that piece of muscle memory and then reflection, that's the part where the muscle memory and reflection is based off of what? The game. Naturally, what am I identifying in my game? What am I feeling in the game physically when I'm moving to go and create that muscle memory? It's not just about going and doing muscle memory. Oh, I got to go do stick handling and I'm going to do stick handling. Great. That's all good. But if I'm working on something in my stick handling that doesn't actually apply to my game, you're missing the boat on it. And that's why in our situation, right, of Jim, that we're always hammering away at with Brian is that we're getting him to the point to understand. You got to understand how it applies to the game. And that's why he gets influenced nonstop to talk about and think about the game. Because once he gets it, once he figures out the game piece and realizes and connects it, all the other muscle memory and reflection on that becomes a piece of cake. So that's why we go from the simplicity, we direct him towards that so much. That's the idea of why, in dealing with him, is that for him, it's understanding and opening his mind to finally saying, oh, it's about my game. That's what it is. And so that's where the influence keeps coming in on that part. But that's the part on that end of what it is. So your example of flipped classroom, did you hear that, Jim?
I don't think he understood it.
Yeah. So you know how coaches go and they talk about the system. They say, this is what we're going to do. Here's what we're doing on the power play. Here's what we're doing on our zone entry. Here's what we're doing on the PK. Here's our defensive zone system. Coaches spend time on the board explaining it and going through it and doing all that stuff, right? They can easily, instead of being on the ice during the 1 hour and using up 5 minutes, 10 minutes of explaining it on the board, they can easily create a video at home and do the same exact action of explaining it on the board and then having a text message group with the team. And every time somebody doesn't understand it, you send the YouTube link and you show here. You don't understand it? Tell me what you don't understand. Here's the video that I created. Go watch it and tell me what you don't understand. So we don't have to waste time with the team anymore for them to have to look at it.
And I think for flipped classroom, it was that concept, but applied to school. So teaching the explanation of what's happening becomes the homework.
Yes.
And then the other actual doing becomes what's happening in the classroom.
Right. Exactly.
Okay,
so it's tying back to what you're learning about stick handling, shooting, those are just concepts inside of a more broader scope that we don't give enough, again, love and attention to. That everyone's a unique individual and it has to fit into education is great. Knowledge is great, but if you don't know how it applies to you, it doesn't mean anything, right? We live in a world now of more knowledge, more knowledge, more knowledge. It's not about more knowledge. We have all the knowledge we need. It's about now having self-knowledge, understanding, the feeling for me. So if I'm going to do, as an example, in a simple way, a stick handling move. So I know physically I need to move a certain way. Okay, fine. So I got to work on that physical way to be able to actually go and make that stick handling move happen. Awesome. But then there's a mental way. Then there's I've got to make a decision. I've got to make a choice at some point, the space and time in the game where I'm going to make that stick handling move happen. So the physical is learning how to actually move my body through it. But then the mental is, when am I going to make the decision to do it? All right. And that's the part. And where we're missing the boat big time is when we talk about the emotional. The emotional is why most players don't go and pull off these moves is that they're afraid to do it at a certain point. They're afraid to make a mistake. They're afraid to fail. They're afraid that coach is going to get mad at them and take away ice time and not play them. So that emotional attachment of understanding, I practice the stick handling move. You know how many players out there right now, and again, this is just one tiny fraction of performance, that are working right now. They put hours and hours and hours into stick handling. And they go through cones, and they go to these clinics, and they go to all these things, and they invest all this time into it, and they're sitting downstairs in their basement and stick handling. But in their minds, they don't even have a visual, an understanding, an imagination of, wait a second, how do I actually use this move in the game? So I love doing this move, and I do this all day long, but they don't actually connect the dots of, but you've got to use it during your performance. You're an artist. You don't know when to use it. And in education, it's the same thing. We go to school, we learn math, we learn English, we learn science, we learn history, we learn all this stuff. We give you this stuff. Here, idea. But how does it apply to my actual performance? How does it actually apply to how I'm going to live life? And that's the fundamental connection that doesn't exist in education, in sports, in all of it, is that it applies to you as an individual. How do I use this? How does this, that's play for that feeling. How does this actually apply to me? And that's at the core of, we get to the heart of, the physical, mental, and emotional gives you a roadmap. But then it's your natural being, your natural performance. How does this actually apply to me? How am I going to use it? And that's at the fundamental core right there.
Well said.
I hope so. But that's the idea of why the roadmap of I am what I do. Right? Identify, direct, and own is a part of a bigger picture of who are you naturally? Who are you? What are you designed to be? So it's great to have all this information out in the world, but what are we doing? What are we actually doing? What actions are we taking that are going to apply to who we actually are naturally? Right? That's the part where we try to force kids.
Yeah, but I think
Be
at
this
some
way.
point, it's not about forcing kids to do anything, but when you're young, you don't necessarily know what you want or what your genius is. You haven't
100%.
experienced life enough. So it's
100%.
important to get
Yes.
the buffet of everything.
Yes, 100%.
But I think the lesson that it ties to what we're talking about more so of worrying about natural strengths, right, is making it fun.
Yes.
Play for that feeling to me means it's something you like. That feeling is what you want to do. It's fun. And listen, not everything's going to obviously be fun, but it doesn't have to be. It can still be an experience. It can still be something that becomes a memory because of what you did with the information rather than just like sitting there. And this is where it applies to everything. This is where it's not just about hockey. It can be applied to school. It can be applied to you in your workplace. If you run a business, if you go to work for someone, if you're,
Parenting.
a parent. Yeah, absolutely. Like all of it, it can apply here. But, we have all probably yelled at our kids and wanted them to do something a certain way, but we can say it till we're blue in the face, but sometimes they're just not going to get it. But if we can, and listen, I'm the first to admit, like after a long day, this is not how my brain is working, but there's certain times we may need to think on more important concepts that we want to make sure we drive home. Like, how could we put this together for them, in a way that will connect with them, with their age or where they're at from a maturity level. And there's also tone, timing, and target, right? Like there's a lot that can go into that, but play for that feeling is really that like place where it's meaningful to you.
Yep.
It's meaningful.
Exactly.
So I feel like we can get into a bit more of the.
Exactly. And Athena, great idea. My little one's excited to go to practice to teammates, but then gets not interested. Just listen to coach and tell them what to do. Yep. It only gets 1 or 2 times to practice that drill because of limited and abundance of kids. Precisely. Exactly. Right. Exactly. Again, we're in control of the environment, but then when we see kids look bored or not having fun, they don't work hard, lack of effort, lack of heart. They don't compete. Again, you're the coach. You're the adult in the room. What kind of environment are you creating? Spot on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jim, great question. So playing for that feeling isn't the same thing as the flow state, or is it? Is there a connection? 100% there's a connection. And there's a duality to it, right? There's the flow state where sometimes it's not the flow state. And that's the whole thing is it is and it isn't. It is when you're connected, and we're going to talk about that here about connection ports. When you're connected to the feeling where it feels good, yes, that's play for that feeling because you found the gold. You found like, this is the thing that makes me feel good. But so that's where it's more of the flow state because you're involved in it. You lose track of time. You're so absorbed into it because you love the feeling and it's inspirational, right? It's that energy. The other side of play for that feeling that we have to understand and accept that this is part of it, that yes, you might have a coach or a teacher or somebody you don't like, right? You might have an experience that is embarrassing or you fail at and you didn't like that experience. That's also play for that feeling. Because if it wasn't for all the feelings where I failed, I got fired, I lost, all those things, I wouldn't know then what are the things that make me feel good. And that's at the core of play for that feeling too is fail, get hurt. That all that stuff sucks. But because of that, it pulls you this way. It pulls you more this way for appreciation and feeling grateful for what you've realized that this is what I'm ready to commit to. This is what I know makes me feel good. So that's where the fundamental difference between the two of, yes, it's a flow state in one part, but it's not a flow in the other. That's just as equally important. It's equally important. It's not just about you can't find what feels good until you understand what feels bad. And that's such a huge part to playing for that feeling is going through that process is equally important. And that's the part where when we're kids and we're going through that, when you have tough experiences, it's all good. It's all good. Now, what I don't agree with is having adults who are, as an example, coaches who are authority figures who have a responsibility that intentionally put off their angry energy and their demeaning and the cursing and all that. That part I don't agree with because you're a responsible adult. If you want to practice tough love, but you're putting them in tough situations where, hey, you're not going to get playing time because I've asked you to work on certain things. I've shown you certain things. You don't want to do the work. You're not going to get playing time. That's just the way it goes, kid. I understand you're upset. I understand you don't like it. Do something about it. Right. Do something about it. Oh, you don't want me to take away your phone? You don't like it? Do something about it. You do something about it, you'll get. So that feeling where the kids will get like, I don't like it. Yes, you're going to work through it. Of course you don't like it. Of course you don't like it. But guess what? That's life. You're not going to like everything. But you're going to see the example of, you don't like it? Well, do something about it to make it so you do like it. And that's a huge difference between the two parts on that side.
There's some comments going back and forth amongst people in the comments, but too often hockey practices games have become an autocratic institution where the coach selects all the drills, makes the decisions, corrects the performance through tightly maintained ideas, and shapes the play through preconceptions of how this drill game element should operate. This may make the experience no longer personally fulfilling or educationally valid. Absolutely. Spot on. Jim, then he's writing, Jim, I think that play for that feeling is closely related to, I am not even going to attempt that dude's name, research on flow. They seem to be one in the same, my opinion. Spot on. Light bulb. Aaron, thanks. I've read a lot of his research. It's great stuff. I've always felt like Coach Vitti's stuff has emulated what he was talking about. I think that guy sounds awesome too. I'm just not even, I mean, maybe you can with your Russian background, but that's.
No, he's also, I read him years ago. So no, he's the man. No, the flow state, right? It's and that's what we've talked about. We talked about that last week's show. I think we touched on it, right? Of where, or 2 weeks, whatever it was. But the flow state of where there's two different kinds. There's a concentrated flow state, right, where I'm completely absorbed into the moment, and then there's just the, hey, I'm surfing, relaxing flow state when I watch my movies over and over again, and you get mad at me, but that actually is a flow state for me.
One of the things you and my mom have in common. You guys watch the same, not that you both watch the same movies, but you both have your like collection of movies that you just watch all
because it turns my brain off and it's
yes. But I think flow is also is being in flow, right?
Of course. No, it's all
natural place where things feel good, where like you have that magnetic energy and you're not worried or you're not, you know, it's that. But why don't I'd like to talk about the connection board.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, let's jump into it. Yep.
Is that okay?
Yeah. I was going to talk a little bit more about what Aaron wrote, but it's all good.
Are you sure?
Mm-hmm. No, I like what he wrote of like making the experience no longer personally fulfilling. That's the one thing that we learned from our mastermind camps. As an example, we would give back to the players and say, "Here, you're going to come up with your own drills." We would collaborate with them and talk more with them about it. And I've suggested this many a times to coaches about face-off plays, zone entry drills, anything that's offensively related in the game. Why are we the ones trying to control that? We shouldn't be the ones that control the offensive part. That's the part that we have the opportunity to give back to the players. And we don't do that nearly enough, is give that back to the player. Here, you guys do the offensive part. I'll give you some guidelines. I control the defensive side of the game. I'm going to show you how we're going to play together as a group defensively. But offensively, you guys do your thing. And that's the part where we see so much in a practice geared around offensive creation. And that's the part where it's like you're telling them what to do when you can't have full control over an individual, what they do offensive, because that's the art of creation. That's the artist inside of you. And that's the part where as educators, as coaches, as teachers, we don't do enough of allowing them to own that process, because then there's accountability. Well, if the zone entry isn't working, well, that's on you guys, right? You made up the play. The face-off play isn't working. Well, you guys created the play, right? Oh, coach, it's not working. Well, it's not working. Well, you guys have to understand, then critically think through it and figure out how to make it work, because you guys are the combination. You guys are the ones trying to figure that out and go through the process together. That's on you guys. And that's the part that, again, it's such an easy shift in perspective, but again, it's a different kind of education. And that's why we keep talking about it over and over again. And eventually it's going to happen. Eventually someone's going to hear this. That's in huge power of USA Hockey or Hockey Canada and realize, yes, or elsewhere, Australia maybe, and someone realizes, yeah, let's do that. Let's make that a part of the main part. Eventually, we'll just keep hammering away at these concepts, and people are going to realize, wait, you can actually teach that way, and you can do it because it works. We know for a fact it works inside of our culture, and it's amazing how much more fun it is to do it that way. But that was my 2 cents on that part of where I was going to go.
That was a good 2 cents.
It's a reality.
And while you were doing that someone tried to use my credit card for an Uber. I just got like all these notifications from Amazon, or not Amazon, from Amex that
that's good.
Someone's ordering an Uber with my credit card.
Good. So yeah, let's talk about
talk about connection ports.
Let's talk about connection ports. So that's the other side of it. But yeah, great call on that end.
So yep, there it keeps going. But I'll figure that out later. Connection ports. What is that, and how is it going to help you and your kids or anyone in your life? Anyone watching this, doesn't matter what your sport, if you're a parent, kid, doesn't matter what you do. But connection ports are just time that you carve out of your life, out of your own day, to do things that feel good. Intentionally. This is done with intention. This is not like, oh, it just so happens my favorite song came on the radio. It's like, nope, this is my favorite song. I'm going to start my day off with my favorite song. And it's figuring out, and not everything has to be, taking 2 hours to watch a movie. It could be small things. And one of the things I recommend with my clients to do is make a list of everything you like to do. Everything that puts a smile on your face. Everything from songs to shows you like to watch, to books you like to read, to maybe videos when your kids were little and couldn't tell you to F off, like whatever that may be. Is it crocheting? Is it, going beer tasting? Is it
watching your kids play?
Watching your kids play. Is it, but things that don't always rely. It's okay that some of it may rely on others, but a lot of it you really want to find is like something that wouldn't be affected if somebody else wasn't there. Okay, so you want to have a list of all those things.
It's yours.
That's under your control. It's completely controllable by you.
Yep.
So what do you do with that, right? You start with that in your day. And I don't mean like first thing in the morning, but I mean like when you're looking at your schedule and you're planning your days, you want to put in things that make you feel good, because you have control over that. And if you're sprinkling your days with your connection ports of things that make you feel good, you're going to have a better outcome on your day.
100%.
You're taking control with intention of incorporating things that you enjoy into your time. And I know if you're thinking in your head, like, well, that sounds nice, Marissa, but I've got kids, I've got a job, things are busy between the dog, and there's no way I can do it. And I'm telling you, I'm going to call bullshit on you. And I'm going to say, if you're really feeling that, call me. We need to talk. But yes, you can. It is the truth. It is the truth, because
I am what I do.
It doesn't have to. I think we get overwhelmed by thinking, oh, like we hear connection ports and self-care are very similar, but I think when people hear self-care, they think going to the spa, at least as a female, like going to the spa for the day or going to get your nails done. And it doesn't have to be, it's not that, it can be that, but it doesn't have to be that. It can very easily be, a playlist on your YouTube of video, even if it's clips from movies and shows that make you laugh, make you smile. Or I have like some videos when the kids were real little that every time I see it just brings like an awesome smile to my face. So, I incorporate those little moments, playlists of music. I have a huge playlist on Spotify that is just filled with music that is inspiring to me, motivating to me, that I like to listen to. So like I put my headphones on and I rock out, and whether it's in the car or at my computer, but it's important that you take control of your day, and you take control of your day of not just being reactive to everything going on. But if you're proactive with what feels good, then some of those other things that maybe you can't control that may make you feel less than good, it takes the sting out. Yeah. It makes you feel more balanced. It provides you the opportunity to play for that feeling every single day.
Yeah.
Because you're incorporating that into your life. Like for me, workout is one of them. While I love to do it in the morning, that doesn't always happen. But like even if I can only get like 10 minutes in, I'll take it. But I plan for that. Even if I do it with the kids, like I'll put a little video on my phone and they'll like try and do it with me. But where it doesn't have to be big chunks of time. Journaling for me is a big one.
Yeah.
But I used to think journaling had to take so long in order to be what it was supposed to be.
Oh yeah.
Now it's like super fast, but it's just an opportunity to kind of get my thoughts in my head squared away and move on with my day. Yeah,
exactly. No, spot on. Like I think about, you bring out the workout part, right? As an example, what ended up happening to me recently was that I realized a major connection port for me is actually going and training like the way a player trains. Why? Because physically it brings me back to those playing days where that's when I felt my best physically. Right? Is when I was training like a player, I felt like unstoppable. So for me, mentally, going to that place and going and focusing in, like now when I'm in the gym and I'm going through the exercises, it keeps me mentally sharp and zoned in, right, onto the process. 1 second.
Yeah. That's it. No one wants to watch you choke on life.
It keeps me mentally zoned in on the process, and it keeps me hammering away. So there's this mental focus that occurs when I'm working out that hard. And I love it. But then most importantly, what's happened is the physical part, what gets interesting about this, right, is that, and that mental part is that flow state that we talk about, is when I'm in it, boom, I'm feeling, I'm like, and it's that flow state getting stronger again. I'm remembering, right, that feeling again of like, all right, when I was feeling at my best physically, man, this is what I was noticing. So it was cool of like being able to come back to that connection part, but most importantly was the emotional part. Is that what's interesting about it, I've talked about this the last couple of weeks, is that here I am, I feel physically, I feel drained. I feel tired, like, oh, but emotionally, I feel unreal. Emotionally, I feel like amazing, like, yes, I'm back to it. I'm feeling like, again, that old self of those days, and it's increasing everything else around me. It's making me feel that much stronger, that much happier, that much more excited, from posts that I'm doing to how I'm coaching players, involved with the kids, all that stuff. We're still at each other's throats the same way. Nothing's changed in that department.
Oh my God, you're so dramatic.
Yeah. So it's all good. It's all good.
You okay?
Happy Valentine's.
Need a tampon?
I'm gonna headbutt you. But that's the part where there was a connection point for me, where I was working out before, and the last 8 months I got back into a consistent routine, but it wasn't the same as when I decided, you know what, no, I got to train like the way I used to back in the playing days. That worked for me. And so that was a physical aspect that connected physical, mental, and emotional of what I do, brings it all together for me. And that's the beauty of understanding and looking at when you find those things that work for you. Again, that works for me. Not everybody on here wants to work out that hard and understands and wants to go to that level. For me, it works because it creates that spiritual effect with everything else. Pushing myself physically, mentally, where I have to go to get there to drive, and then emotionally what it brings out, that's the play for that feeling. So it's crazy to like realize after all these years, it's been 12 years since I trained like that, boom, time to get after it and train that hard. And I've loved it. And other parts physically that get interesting is that I love other parts that I got is hair tickles. I love hair tickles.
Must be nice.
You don't love giving them to me, but I love them.
No, after a long ass day of taking care of everybody, and I finally get to sit in peace, and then you like
the mental place,
plop
the physical
your
feels so
50-pound
good.
head onto me, and
the
like
mental place it takes me, and then emotionally, I just feel so relaxed.
Timing. Do you want a hair tickle? Put the kids to bed.
Sushi. I love sushi.
Notice how that just went. Like, put the kids to bed would get you a hair tickle.
I'll put the kids to bed.
Okay.
You heard it right here. I'm putting the kids to bed. I want a hair tickle.
I created a self-care survival box that has some things in it that remind me of the bigger picture. A picture of my mom who passed away, a journal, some prayers. I can open it anytime just for a few minutes, and it brings me back to those things that matter for me. Yep, I would do that every day.
Yeah.
Literally, like, incorporate love and incorporate that feeling for you every single day.
Yeah. That's play for that feeling. That's exactly it. Again, and that's the individuality. That's the part that for you means a lot. And that's what matters most with the whole concept of everything we're talking about here and your connection point. It's got to matter for you. You can hear ideas and all that stuff, and that's an awesome one right there. And that's the whole idea behind understanding play for that feeling is I am what I do. What do I do for myself? And that allows me to be better in the world and better in life and better for others that surround me. I love that. Joseph?
No, I'm just freaking out because Amex is still, like, someone's literally using my American Express right now with Uber. And it's annoying me.
Yeah, creepy.
Sorry. It's very creepy.
Creepy. But that's that part, guys. When we talk about play for that feeling, you know, I put different parts of, from the physical standpoint, we talk about that. Mental, different things I probably love to read and learn. I love to watch TED Talk and Gaia. And I love to create systems that are fun and deep for players to explore. I love to create posts that add value to the world. I love watching movies over and over again. It's a mental break for me. I love music. Right? These are things that mentally I know that stimulate me and take me to this place, but also help me, right, from a physical and especially the emotional place. And that's the stuff, right? Emotional, I love spending time with my family. I love creating belief in others. I love seeing my friends have success. I love inspirational people. So I love about Facebook, to be able to go on and read people's posts and see. I love inspiring stories. I have friends that are very inspirational, and we have a conversation. It's like, man, they get me excited. They get me going because of what they're doing. And it's awesome to have a deep intellectual conversation with it and go into that place. And those are things that work for me, that drive. So those are some of the examples of a physical, mental, emotional part. But ultimately, I am what I do. If I don't do those things and intentionally craft that and intentionally know that this is the place that I need to go, this is the roadmap, this is where I need to address my GPS, and that feeling is not going to come up. If I don't look at it and know at the end of the day that I can sell my points and celebrate my wins and know, yep, I did that today. Because at the end of the day, if I feel like crap, but I identified I didn't do any of the things that I know create connection for me and I wasn't intentional about it, then whose fault is it that I had a totally shitty day? Whose fault? And those are the parts that, when we talk about playing for that feeling, these are the different experiences. These are different things that guide us towards there. But again, am I identifying what I'm going about my day? Am I identifying those things in my life that create that for me? Am I directing my life on what I do with that to bring me back to those places? And am I owning the fact that if I do it, great, I'm going to feel this way. And if I don't do it, well, I'm going to feel another way. And that is all on us as human beings. That's what it comes back to. So that's the theme of today of, that of what we wanted to talk about, play for that feeling. It's more than just championships. Championships are great. It's more than that.
Well, it's an uncontrollable, ultimately.
Exactly.
But I also, if I can real quick, I want to incorporate, it's great that we as parents have connection ports, right? But you also want to encourage your kids to have them. So especially, is it a tough season? Maybe it's a coach that's not that inspiring, maybe isn't the best environment. Well, what other things can go is for their connection ports that they can do? Is there a playlist they can listen to on the way to the rink? Is there something they can do after practice that's connect with friends, figuring that out, because it's up to them too. But this is a great exercise for our children.
Yeah,
as well.
And a great example inside of performance with players, right? When you talk about something like that is, I have one of my players who got a chance to play with his brother this year, right? And when they were playing together, what happened was the coach was an absolute buffoon. Couldn't just, what is this guy talking about? It was just like, God, and this brings it back to what Tricia was saying earlier, is that the coach was just like, oh, I just can't stand going to practices. So as we were going through, our multiple practices, and so as the season was going on, we had to come back to the connection port of, all right, I understand. It's so hard to play for this coach. He's not clear with his message. It's really tough to be around this guy. I get it. Okay, cool. But fundamentally, do you love playing with your brother? Is it cool to be able to go to the rink and know you're with your brother every single time? Oh, yeah, it's awesome. I love it. Okay. Then you need to sit with your brother. You need to hang out with your brother more. And you need to focus more on the connection of, I get to play with my brother. You're not on this team because of this coach and what's going on with this coach and that he doesn't get it. You've talked to him on stuff. He doesn't get it. You're there because you're your brother. You're there because next year you might not get to play again with your brother. You're there. You might not have that experience again. So the amount of time, own it. Own the fact that this might be the only time that you and your brother ever get to play on a team together. So focus more on that connection. Focus more on the fact that you might never get this opportunity again. And it just hit him and he goes, I got you. Cool. And there was that connection point. There it was, a play for that feeling. Don't worry about what coach is doing. I get it. Worry about the fact that this is cool. You know what? I get to play with my brother. And it just completely, that shift of perspective, he changed his story and boom. The rest of the year, he was able to laugh at his coach and all that stuff because it wasn't stressful anymore. Because he realized, my coach is my coach, but it's cool. Me and my brother, we made this one play together. He focused more on the fact that what he could control and knowing that, yeah, I might not get this back again. This is cool. And there was one shift of perspective that if he didn't have that influence to think about that differently, he would have had a miserable season, right? It would have absolutely stunk. And that was the point of that. When you look at connection ports, playing for that feeling, I am what I do. Well, if he didn't make that choice to deliberately look at it differently and say, yeah, that's true. I'm here with my bro. Season would have sucked. He would have hated every minute of it. It would have been brutal, right? Right down to the nitty gritty. I won't share the last story that he had, but with coach, it was a terrible experience. Yeah. But with my bro, it was an awesome experience. And that's one of the things of a fundamental difference that can happen inside of, connecting with that.
Yeah.
So
good stuff.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. But again, I am what I do. It does, guys. It comes back to you. You know, we got Valentine's Day, love. If we sum up what is it that play for that feeling means, it's really identifying as much as you can about what you love.
Yeah.
What do you love about the experience that you're having with your child when they play? What do you love about your family and what you do? What do you love about things you do for yourself physically that make you feel better? What do you love about things that you do mentally that make you feel better, that make you feel good? What do you love about things you do emotionally that make you feel better? And that's at the core of the theme of Valentine's Day and at the core of love. Love is love is that feeling of, yeah, it's natural, flow state. It doesn't feel like work. I just love doing that. I love that.
Am I the only one reminded of Elsa? Because like at the end, it was love that fixed everything.
Yeah. But love is always, people think love is corny and love is all, but it's
Frozen about a billion times. So, you know,
yeah,
my head goes there.
Exactly. We can say confidence and people will get so excited about confidence. You got to be confident when you, you got to be confident when you play. Yeah. It's all about confidence, coach. But the moment you say love.
I don't know, maybe that's a dude thing.
It's a dude thing, yeah. Love, that's mushy, wushy, gushy stuff. Love, and it's just like, no, it's the same. It's the connection port. It's a word. Language is my offense. It's a word that if we spend more time talking about, thinking about how not the mushy and that's it. It's deeper than that. There's more to it. It's a connection to a reality. The more you love what you do, the more you're going to enjoy everything else.
Yourself.
The more you love yourself, the more you're going to love doing it.
Yeah.
And that's the part where, again, the word around men, love. It's exactly it, right? Because that's in us.
Love.
That's in us, right? It made us like love when we grew up. It's that male crap of like, but it's a reality of a word. But if you talk confidence, you could talk about confidence all day. Great word. That's humanity. That's human beings, and that's our ignorance and our thing that the feelings inside produces. But again, if we look at it from a place of awareness and understood, you know what? Yeah, look past it. Don't put limitations on what a word is. Think about it from the perspective of 30,000 feet above it. It's a powerful word. It's the most powerful word there is. I put it up against any word out there. I don't think there's anything more powerful of what it creates. That's my 2 cents. Happy V-Day.
You're really good at giving 2 cents, turning it into 10. Thank you guys so much.
I wish I could headbutt.
Oh, stop. Stop the headbutting. It's so violent.
I know, but it feels so good.
Cardboard downstairs is for, darling. Thank you guys so much for joining us. If you liked today's show, or you just happen to like one of us or both of us or whatever, please hit share. We want to get the message out. If you want to headbutt somebody, hit share. Just give us some love.
Love, share.
We're going to have a special guest coach next week.
Yeah,
our new
exciting.
Bloodline coach, Coach George Bozak. Yeah. So we'll have
huge
more.
Congrats to Coach George.
Yes, huge. You'll hear more next week. Cliffhanger. Okay. I know. You got to wait. That's how it works. I come back from work.
Yeah. Come back for more.
So join us next week with our special guest coach.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome.
You guys have a great week. See ya.
See you guys.